friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I want to talk a little bit about my most recent bulk food purchases for food storage. So I have besides going to Costco, we go like maybe once every couple of months because Costco is about 75 miles from us. And so we do go there on occasion. But my other places that I like to stock up on foods that I don't already grow or don't grow enough of are Mother Earth products. And I do have an affiliate link to them below. And if you order through that link and you're interested in those products, and I'll be talking a little bit about that, you can get 10% off of your order if you go through that particular link. And that also helps us out a little bit because it is an affiliate link. So Mother Earth products is other than Amazon, which is just kind of general, you can buy anything through our Amazon links. Mother Earth products is our only other affiliate that we deal with. And I've just been really happy with them. But you know, you got to figure out which ones you like best. There's Honeyville. I used to really like Honeyville. For certain reasons I pulled back from them. Part of it was because they kept upping their prices. And then I found Mother Earth products and found that I like their stuff just as well. And some of their things I like even better. So they do have some organic stuff, not as much as Honeyville or Thrive does, but they do have some. So one of them, and I did find them, I knew they had them, is the organic strawberries. So I did get some organic strawberries, even though I do have a lot through Honeyville because I stocked up years ago before I switched to Mother Earth products. I do have a lot of number 10 cans of Honeyville products, and I still recommend them. They're a great place. But there's a lot of things I like about Mother Earth products better, and that is that I don't have to buy things in number 10 cans. I can go with smaller amounts, I can go with even bigger amounts and save even more money that way. And so two of the things that I got from them this time around was the freeze-dried pineapple, and I do like their pineapple better than the Honeyville pineapple. So good, just a snack on right out of whatever bag or container you get it in. And then the freeze-dried mangoes. Now these things aren't organic, but when it comes to mangoes and pineapples and certain other what they consider the clean 15, I don't worry about them being organic. But when it comes to strawberries, I will not buy strawberries unless they are organic. We do grow our own strawberries, but I've been just kind of struggling to get enough at a time, and so stocking up on them freeze-dried to be able to use in various things is a really good option for us. And pineapples and mangoes don't grow well here, so we can't grow all of this stuff. So this is one way that we can stock up, and I love working with freeze-dried and dehydrated products because there's so much you can actually do with them. Though fresh is always best as far as nutrients go, you can't always have access to fresh pineapple, fresh mango, and fresh strawberries, even those that come right out of your garden. So anyway, these are a couple of things that I got this time around. I did experiment and make some banana coconut bread with pineapple icing. I'll put a picture right here. I wanted to do an experiment first because it was just an idea in my head, and I will be doing a video recipe on that soon. And I used the freeze-dried pineapple, the stuff that I had from the smaller bag I initially purchased from Mother Earth products, to make the icing, and it turned out really good. But I'm going to do a few more tweaks before I actually do that video, and that's why I like to experiment first so I can get an idea, okay, what can I change and do better. So be watching for that coming down the road. It did turn out really good, but there's some things it just needs a little bit more of this or that, and we'll get to that in that video. And then another thing I decided to try from Mother Earth products, these aren't things I normally think to stock up on, but they only have this one soup / dip mix, and people have been asking me about it, and I have yet to try it because I just got this order in yesterday. But it's 3 onion soup dip mix, so you can use it to make a dip, you can use it for making soup. So I thought it would be fun to try it, and that way if people ask me down the road, I can let them know what I think. I'm usually one that likes to mix my own spices and herbs and stuff like that, but sometimes it is nice having a pre-mix, whatever it is, ready to go. And I did look at the ingredients. It's all natural stuff, all good, healthy stuff in there. So anyway, I'll be trying that eventually, and I'll give you an update on that down the road once I give it a try. I'm thinking maybe make it a cream cheese dip with it. You're taking some cream cheese and adding that in there, I think would be really tasty. So I don't need to open these strawberries right away, so I'm just going to leave them in the Mylar bag that they're in. However, These, because they're in this kind of bag, and because that's a lot, once I open this up, it's going to, they do go stale. I like to keep these very crispy, and so I will be jarring these up, and I'll be showing you how I do that. But before I do, I want to talk about the other bulk purchase, because the other place I like to stock up on things like nuts and other foods is from Amazon. And so I bought some, I decided I really wanted to stock up on hazelnuts. It's one of the nuts I have yet to put in my stash of foods when it comes to nuts. And so it came, I went for the big 8-pound bag. That was the most money savings way to go. Plus I was able to get this through the Subscribe and Save program. So these are organic and they are non-GMO, and I'm really happy with this brand. I've got other things through them, and the fact that you can get it on Subscribe and save up to 15% as well makes it just a pretty good deal. Now, it wasn't cheap buying a big bag like this of hazelnuts, but in the long run, I did save a lot of money. So that ended up filling up 7 whole jars of quart jars of hazelnuts that I then vacuum sealed and dated. Because the nice thing about this is I can get it out of the plastic and get them in smaller containers that are going to last a lot longer. I have coconut and sunflower seeds and things like that vacuum sealed into jars from years ago. And when I do open them up, chocolate chips from 2015, some organic, non-GMO, soy-free chocolate chips are so good, and I stocked up on a bunch of them. I have them vacuum sealed in pint-sized jars, and when I do break down and open a jar for making cookies, which doesn't happen very often, even though they're that old, they are still just as fresh and tasty as they were when they went into the jar. So this is what I'm going to do with that. Now, I do also have right here, the ones I didn't jar up, were some I'm soaking right now because I'm going to make some hazelnut milk, and I'm also planning on taking the pulp. I've got a couple of different ideas I'm going to try with the pulp I'm going to experiment with, and I'll be talking about that down the road in probably a this and that video if I don't do a separate video just on what I'm doing with that. And I want to play around with some recipe ideas I've got brewing in my head. So anyway, let's get to the jar now. Now, a lot of you have been following me for a while, already know how I do this, but if you're new, you might not know how I jar up my food and seal it for the long-term storage. So let's start with this pineapple, and I have no idea how many jars it's going to fill until I get it, until I start filling the jars. Now, just so you know, this right here is 1 pound of freeze-dried pineapple. So when you order a pound of freeze-dried fruits and things, typically this is about the size you're going to look at. If you're looking at 5 pounds, it's probably going to fill a bag at least this size. So some of you may remember I bought my last Mother Earth products that I talked about. I did a big order of onions, garlic, and their freeze-dried mushrooms, and I sealed those up into jars. So I'm just going to use my canning funnel and pour that in there, like so. And you will, this is freeze-dried, so you will end up with a bit of a cloud there. This is a regular mouth here. I want to make sure I get any dust off of the rim of the jar. I'm going to take a lid. It can be a previously used lid. This is the great thing about vacuum sealing. Sometimes even if the lid is previously used, it actually works better than a brand new lid. And then I'm going to take the Food Saver attachment. I will link to all these below. These are Amazon affiliate links. So you can find these things. So get the proper size. You can get these in a kit and that's what I'll link to, where it has both sizes. Plus it comes with a hose like this that you may or may not want to use depending on how you do this. So you just slip, this is the regular size one, slip that over there. Take your brake bleeder. So I'm just using all the parts that came with the brake bleeder. Now some people will, instead of doing what I did here, using one of the tips, they'll take this and cut one end off. This is what comes with those lids here. And then jam the hose inside the other, and then that way they can actually snap this, because this will actually snap into place and hold in there so you don't have to hold it by hand. I have yet to try that. As you can see, I'm just in the habit of sticking this down in there and holding it. So if you don't use the hose, the Food Saver hose, then make sure that you press and hold firmly. You don't have to press really hard, just hold it in place firmly. And then you're going to pump this up until the gauge is pointed at least straight up and down. So it's going to be 15 pounds of pressure. I usually go towards 17 or 18 pounds of pressure. I like to go a little bit farther than that. So I'll show you. You can rest it. It's not that bad, especially if you got to do, even when you got to do a whole bunch of jars. If your hand gets tired, you can just rest it against the counter like this and pump downwards like this instead of squeezing it like that. That's the way I always do it. So you just start pumping and you just keep going until you get up to the pressure you want. Okay, that's about 17, 18-ish. Okay, now one thing you might find is, might happen this time, and might not, is when you're using the regular mouth one, it only happens with the regular mouth one. Yeah, see, when you pull it off, a lot of times the little rubber gasket will just come out. That's, I don't know why, I've had other people say the same thing, but for some reason on the regular mouth one, it happens frequently. Not all the time, but quite a bit of the time. And then simply make sure to properly mark what's in there, because sometimes the pineapple and the mango can look quite a bit alike. I'm just going to put the year. I'm not really concerned about the month, but you can do that if you want. And there, now it's all sealed up and ready to go into food storage, and it will last for years like that. And I like to go ahead and put on my dehydrated, anything that I'm vacuum sealing, I like to go ahead and put the band on there nice and tight just to help hold it in place and keep it sealed. All right, I wanted to show you real quick. I finished vacuum sealing up that whole bag of pineapple, and so I ended up filling up 4 quart jars and then had a little bit left, and I'll just snack on this stuff here because it's really good snack. So it's naturally sweet, no sugar added, so it makes for a healthy treat. Now, if you've got, this one I've already marked, but if you've got some previously used lids, there's 2 ways that, you don't want to scrub it too hard with anything that's scrubby, because you'll scratch up the lid and it makes it harder each time to get the permanent ink off. So there's 2 ways you can do about it. People talk about this one a lot. I'll explain in a minute why I don't use this one. But this is one way, is to take a dry erase marker and just color over it like that. And then wipe it off. So that's one way to do it. Now, the reason I don't prefer that method is because dry erase markers are not cheap, but rubbing alcohol is cheap. Well, here's a lid that still has a little bit of writing on it. You can just barely see it. Most of it seemed to wash off pretty good with a rag. But anyway, I just like to squirt a little tiny bit of isopropyl alcohol that I keep in a spray bottle, rub it around like that, and then wipe it off with a dry cloth. And it works great. It makes the lid look almost brand new. And so now you have it nice and clean, and we'll go ahead and go over this one again because that dry erase marker didn't work perfectly. There, got that last little bit off with the rubbing alcohol. I wiped off the other one. And so now they're ready for me to write on. And there you go. So that's a little trick on how, if you like to use a Sharpie like I do to write on your lids. On something like this, you could write right on the jar. People mention that quite a bit, and I've done that before. But when you're talking about things that are darker like this, it can be hard to see it. So I prefer using the lid. So it's totally up to you. It will clean off the jar just as easily, though, using a scrub. You can scrub it that way. You don't have to worry about scratching the glass as much. Or you can use the rubbing alcohol method like I did here. And then again, if you're going to vacuum seal in the wide mouth jars, and you can also go smaller jars. You don't have to do quarts. I always put it in quarts. That's the way I do it. And then I just open the quart and work through 1 quart at a time. But here's the beauty of this, is if you open one up and you decide you only want to use a little bit out and you don't think you're going to use it for a while, just reseal it. No big deal. Just vacuum seal it again just like that. Now, if you do actually have the Food Saver, which I have, but I gave up on it because I'm fed up with Food Saver personally. Yeah, but you can also use your Food Saver to vacuum seal. If you know how to do that, you just take your hose like this and you stick it in it should have an accessory port. You stick that in there and then you just turn it on and it will vacuum seal. It'll just suck all that oxygen out. Now, a lot of times people ask me about putting oxygen absorbers and things like that in there. I never bother. You can do that if you want, especially if you're concerned about losing a seal, but I find it really a waste of money to do that. I just would rather not stock up on a bunch of oxygen absorbers when the vacuum sealing process actually does that for you. It takes the oxygen out. As long as the jar stays sealed, you're fine. And also, when you're talking about freeze-dried and dehydrated foods, if it does lose its seal, the worst thing that's going to happen is the foods are going to get stale. They're not going to go bad. They're not going to go rotten. They just get stale and can start to lose their flavor. That's the worst that can happen if they lose their seal. If you're interested in any of the products I've got here, anything that I've used, remember you can find my affiliate links down below, including the link to the hazelnuts. And you can actually get the hazelnuts in smaller sizes as well as bigger sizes. I decided 8 pounds was plenty. So you can check that out. And if you have an Amazon account and you haven't looked into the subscribe and save program, because we live remotely, we kind of depend on Amazon for a lot of things that we can't get locally, and so that we don't have to drive into town every time we need something, because it's just not worth it. Setting up a subscribe and save account is really a good deal, because if you have certain things you know that you need on a regular basis, it doesn't have to be monthly. As long as you're getting at least 5 items delivered to you at one time, you can get 15% off of each of those items. 5 items and up. If you just have one item, you can save 5%, and have that delivered monthly or by every 2 months or every 6 months. You can delete any item and change it up whenever you want. Now that the Nutiva refined coconut oil is finally available again on the subscribe and save, not as cheap as it used to be, but still for a really good price, I've subscribed to that again so I can get a bucket of that every month, because I actually prefer that for soap making because it sets up better, and I also prefer it when I'm frying potatoes and different things like that. Whereas the coconut oil I get at Costco, the unrefined, I use for other things like making lip balm and skin cream, and using in things that I don't mind having the coconut flavor in, like using in my banana pineapple coconut bread. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and just give you a few more ideas of things that you can stock up in your food pantry for long-term storage. You never know when you won't be able to get pineapple or mangoes, especially if you can't grow them in your area. So these are nice to have for doing various things with, to add flavor to all kinds of stuff, from smoothies to breads to your own homemade chocolates and so on and so forth. So anyway, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.